The law of averages doesn't promise success. It guarantees it, but only if you stay in the game long enough. That's the truth most people miss. Success isn't magic, it's math. The more times you try, the more chances you give yourself to win. Every action increases your odds. Every effort brings you closer. But most people quit before the numbers start working in their favor, and that's why they never see results. This is what separates the winners from the quitters. Winners keep showing up. They fail, they learn, they try again, until the averages start tipping toward them. It's not about luck. It's about staying consistent until the math of effort turns into success. In this video, we'll break down how the law of averages and your success can completely shift how you think, work, and win. Because once you master this law, success stops being a dream and becomes a guarantee. Number one, take more chances because numbers always reveal your win. Every person who ever reached success didn't get there because they were lucky. They got there because they took more chances than the rest. They showed up more times. They made more calls. They faced more rejections. They simply gave the law of averages more opportunities to work in their favor. Success is not a mystery. It's a numbers game. The more you try, the more chances you give yourself to win. It's that simple, and it's that real. Most people never realize how powerful this law truly is. They try once, maybe twice, and when it doesn't work, they walk away. They say it's not meant for them, that life is unfair, that others have something they don't. But the truth is, they just didn't play the numbers long enough. You see, the law of averages never lies. It says that if you do something often enough, a certain percentage of your results will turn out in your favor. You may not know when, you may not know how, but it will happen if you keep going. When I started in business, I didn't have special talent. I didn't have big money or fancy connections. What I did have was a willingness to keep knocking on doors. I talked to 10 people, and maybe one said yes. That was my average. I didn't cry over the 9 who said no. I focused on the 1 who said yes. And then I made a promise to myself I'd talk to another 10, and then another 10, and another after that. Soon, that 1 out of 10 became 2 out of 10. My averages got better because I got better. See, that's the secret. The more you play, the more you learn, and the more your numbers improve. When you take more chances, you give yourself 2 gifts. The first gift is experience. Every attempt teaches you something new, how people respond, what works, what doesn't, how to adjust your approach. The second gift is exposure. You put yourself in front of more opportunities, and opportunities are what build success. The law of averages doesn't reward those who wait. It rewards those who act. You can't win the game you never play. Too many people sit on the sidelines waiting for the perfect chance. They want everything to feel safe before they move. But safety doesn't produce success. Repetition does. The more you swing, the higher your chances to connect. Some days, you'll miss. Some days, you'll hit. But every day you step up, you give the law of averages more data to work with. If you talk to 10 people and 1 says yes, that's your ratio. You can complain about the 9 who said no, or you can understand that every no brings you closer to the next yes. That's how the numbers work. If you stop after the first few no's, you never reach your next yes. The law doesn't fail. We fail to stay long enough for it to show its power. Taking more chances isn't about gambling. It's about effort. It's about giving yourself more tries, more exposure, and more experience. The world doesn't owe you a win. It gives you a field to play on, and you decide how many times you'll swing. That's where courage comes in. You must be willing to face rejection, embarrassment, or temporary failure without losing your drive. Because once you do, the numbers start turning in your favor. People often ask, how do I know if it's working? You'll know. You'll feel it. The first few tries might sting. You'll feel frustrated when things don't move fast enough. But if you stay consistent, you'll start to notice small wins. Someone returns your call. Someone listens to your idea. Someone says, I'll think about it, and later says, yes. Each small success proves the law of averages is real. You just have to keep feeding it with action. Think about this. If your current average says 1 success in 10 tries, then you already know your odds. That means every time you try, you're moving closer to the next success. So, if you've had 5 failures, you're halfway there. That's how a disciplined mind works. You stop taking no personally. You start seeing it as part of the math. And once you understand that, rejection loses its power over you. The biggest mistake people make is thinking success should come quickly. They see someone else win and assume it happened overnight. But behind every win are countless attempts. Behind every big break are small steps that went unnoticed. The law of averages rewards the person who keeps trying when others give up. That's the edge. Persistence multiplied by time. So ask yourself, how many chances have you given yourself this week? How many new people did you talk to? How many times did you show up even when you didn't feel like it? If your answer is not many, then you already know what's missing. The law of averages isn't emotional. It doesn't care how you feel. It only responds to how much you do. Taking more chances means accepting that not every attempt will feel good. Some days you'll get silence. Some days you'll feel ignored. Some days it'll feel like nothing's working. But that's exactly when you must remember the law. Each failed attempt is not a setback. It's a step closer to the next success. Every no builds a pathway to your yes. You have to decide what's more painful, trying again and facing rejection, or doing nothing and living with regret. Most people choose comfort over courage. They avoid the hard truth that averages only improve with activity. You can't wish your numbers higher. You have to earn them. That means picking up the phone one more time, sending one more message, making one more attempt, talking to one more person. There's something powerful that happens when you push yourself beyond the first layer of resistance. You build emotional strength. You develop patience. You grow confidence. You start realizing that effort creates momentum, and momentum creates opportunity. That's why those who stay active eventually rise to the top, not because they're smarter, but because they kept the numbers in motion. The law of averages also teaches you something about perspective. When you take enough chances, you stop fearing failure. You start respecting it. You understand it's part of the equation. Every failure has a role. It filters out what doesn't work. Without those attempts, you'd never refine your skills. You'd never sharpen your instincts. Taking more chances is the only way to discover what you're truly capable of. When you stop trying, your averages freeze. The moment you sit back and say, maybe later, the numbers stop growing. Every day you wait, you lose potential wins. The only way to turn things around is to re-enter the game. Even if you feel behind, you can catch up fast once you start moving again. The law of averages rewards effort, not excuses. Think about the people you admire: business leaders, athletes, creators, anyone who made something great. Every one of them took more chances than the average person. They made more calls, faced more rejections, made more mistakes, and learned more lessons. That's why they win more. It's not talent, it's volume. The more you do, the more likely you'll hit the right combination. Taking more chances doesn't mean acting blindly. It means acting consistently. You still need to learn from each try, adjust your approach, and grow your skill. But the main thing is to stay in motion. Don't let fear convince you to wait for perfect conditions. There's no such thing. Start now and let experience refine you. Every attempt gives you new data, and that data helps you make smarter decisions next time. Sometimes people think they're unlucky because nothing works for them. The truth is, they haven't taken enough shots for luck to even notice them. Luck favors activity. The law of averages can't deliver results when you've only given it 2 or 3 tries. You must feed it with effort. Once you've taken 100 tries, you'll be amazed how much your odds change. You start winning more simply because you stayed in the game longer than others. When you take more chances, something else happens. Your confidence grows. You begin to trust yourself. You no longer depend on approval or luck because you see proof of progress. You become someone who creates results instead of waiting for them. That's real power, knowing your success is in your control because you understand how the numbers work. There's freedom in realizing that success isn't about magic. It's about math. You don't need to be extraordinary. You just need to increase your attempts. Each time you act, you improve your odds. And when your odds improve, your life improves. That's how average effort turns into extraordinary success. So if you've been feeling stuck, if you've been waiting for something to happen, remember this: your results are waiting for you to act. The law of averages is waiting for you to give it something to work with. Don't quit because things are slow. Don't back off because others don't see what you see. Take more chances. Keep showing up. Talk to more people. Ask for more opportunities. Make more attempts. One day, you'll look back and realize that every try mattered. Every no had purpose. Every failure built your foundation. Every small effort moved your numbers closer to your win. The law of averages didn't fail you. It was working for you all along. You just had to give it enough time and enough effort to reveal the truth. That's how life works. Not overnight, not by accident, but through consistent, deliberate, fearless action. You don't have to win every time. You just have to try more times than most people ever will. Because sooner or later, the law of averages catches up, and when it does, it's your turn to win. So take more chances, make more moves, stay longer in the fight. Keep putting yourself out there, not because it's easy, but because it works. Numbers never lie, and effort never goes unnoticed. Every step forward adds to your total, and your total determines your success. Keep your numbers moving, and sooner or later, success will have no choice but to find you. Number 2, talk to more clients until the right one stays. When it comes to success, most people talk about talent, timing, or luck. But very few talk about the simple truth that changes everything: numbers. The law of averages says that if you talk to enough people, one of them will be the right one. The right client, the right partner, the right supporter. That's how success works. Not everyone will say yes. Not everyone will stay. But if you keep reaching out, if you keep showing up, the right person will appear. And when that person does, everything changes. You can't build a business, a dream, or a future by talking to just a few people. You have to stretch yourself. You have to go beyond your comfort zone and connect with more people than feels easy. Because the truth is, not every client will understand you. Not every person will value your work. Some will listen politely and walk away. Others will ignore you completely. But that's not failure. That's the process. Every person who says no is just clearing the path for the one who will say yes. When I first started, I thought every person I spoke to should see what I see. I believed that if I gave a great presentation, they should automatically agree. But I learned quickly that the world doesn't work that way. People have different needs, different priorities, different timing. Some are ready now, others aren't. My job wasn't to convince everyone. It was to keep talking until I found the right one. The more I talked, the more I learned who was serious and who was just curious. The more I listened, the clearer I became about who truly needed what I had to offer. Talking to more clients isn't just about selling. It's about discovery. Every conversation teaches you something. You learn what people care about. You learn what stops them. You learn what motivates them. You start seeing patterns. You realize that not everyone fits your product or service, and that's okay. The goal isn't to chase everyone. It's to find the right ones who stay, who grow, and who believe in what you're doing. Those people become your foundation. Too many people quit before reaching those few. They stop after 10 calls, after 10 meetings, after 10 rejections. They think nobody's interested. But what they don't realize is that the next person might have been the one. The law of averages only works if you keep it in motion. The more clients you talk to, the closer you get to the ones who stay. You don't need everyone. You just need enough of the right ones. In business and in life, you'll meet all kinds of people. Some will waste your time. Some will test your patience. Some will give you false hope. But among them are the people who will transform your life. The ones who see your value, who share your vision, who stick around when others walk away. You find them not through luck, but through consistency. You find them by showing up day after day and refusing to stop after hearing no. Every time you speak to a new client, you're sharpening your skills. You're learning how to connect better, how to explain more clearly, how to listen more deeply. Those small improvements compound over time. You start to attract better clients because you've become better at communication. The law of averages rewards growth. The more you talk, the better you get. And the better you get, the higher your chances that someone stays. People often underestimate how many connections it really takes. They think talking to a few people should be enough, but averages don't work that way. If you talk to 10 people and one says yes, that's 10%. If you talk to 100, you now have 10 yeses. And if you talk to 1,000, you have 100. That's the math of progress. The numbers multiply your chances, but only if you multiply your effort. When I worked in sales, I learned that confidence doesn't come before results. It comes from activity. The more people I spoke to, the less nervous I felt. Rejection lost its sting because I understood it wasn't personal. It was just part of the number. When you talk to enough people, one conversation no longer defines your mood or your belief. You start seeing the bigger picture, that every no simply leads you closer to the next yes. You have to fall in love with the process of reaching out. Every phone call, every meeting, every message is part of your journey. Even if it doesn't lead to a deal, it's still valuable. You never know who might remember you later, who might recommend you, who might come back when the timing is right. Talking to more clients isn't just about finding the right one today. It's about planting seeds for tomorrow. Most people live in fear of rejection, so they avoid the number. They tell themselves stories like people aren't interested, or the market is too tough, or nobody wants to listen. But behind those stories is one simple truth. They haven't talked to enough people yet. The world has billions of people. There are clients waiting for your product, your service, your story. You just haven't met them yet, but you will, if you keep talking. There's something deeply human about this process. Every conversation builds connection, understanding, and trust. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present. People don't expect you to have all the answers. They expect honesty, enthusiasm, and effort. When you talk to enough clients with genuine care, you build relationships that last far longer than any transaction. Those relationships become the heartbeat of your success. Talking to more clients also tests your patience. You'll learn how to stay calm when things don't go your way. You'll learn to keep your tone positive, even when you feel tired. You'll learn to listen without reacting. That emotional maturity separates the average performer from the exceptional one. Success isn't about how you act when people say yes. It's about how you respond when they say no. There will be days when you feel like you've done enough, but still haven't seen results. That's when the law of averages is quietly at work behind the scenes. Every call you make, every message you send, every meeting you hold, it all adds up. The right client might come on the next call or the next week. You never know which attempt will be the one that changes everything. That's why you must stay consistent. In the process of talking to more clients, you also discover yourself. You find out what you truly value, what kind of people energize you, and what kind drain you. You learn where your strengths lie. You start recognizing which clients are worth your time and which ones aren't. The law of averages isn't only about numbers. It's about clarity. The more people you meet, the more you understand who you are and what kind of people you want around you. The right client doesn't just buy from you. They believe in you. They stay because they trust you. They see that you care about their success, not just your own. You find those people by showing up over and over, not with fake enthusiasm, but with genuine purpose. When you bring honesty and effort to every conversation, people feel it. And the ones who feel it deeply, those are the ones who stay. Your energy attracts your kind. If you approach people with frustration, you'll push them away. But if you show up with calm confidence, you'll attract the right ones. That's another part of the law of averages. As your mindset improves, your quality of connections improves too. You don't just find more clients, you find better clients. You can't predict when you'll meet that person who changes everything. Maybe it's next week, maybe it's next month, but they're out there, and the only way to reach them is to keep talking, keep showing up, keep moving forward. Every no you hear is not the end. It's just one step closer to finding the person who will stay. Talking to more clients also forces you to refine your message. The more you speak, the clearer your communication becomes. You start realizing what resonates and what doesn't. You stop wasting words and start focusing on what matters most. That's how professionals are made. Not by perfection, but by repetition and reflection. The difference between the person who wins and the one who quits isn't talent. It's number. The winner simply talked to more people, asked for more opportunities,
and stayed longer in the process. You can't argue with averages. You can only feed them with more effort. When you understand this, frustration turns into focus. You stop doubting yourself. You start playing the numbers with intention. You wake up every morning knowing that every call counts, every message matters, every conversation brings you closer. That kind of mindset gives you peace. It takes away the anxiety of needing instant results because you trust the process. So keep talking. Reach out to new people. Follow up with the ones you've already met. Build your list. Expand your reach. Stay curious. Keep improving your approach. The right clients are looking for someone just like you, but they can't find you if you stop too soon. You might not see progress every day, but the effort is never wasted. Somewhere out there is the client who will stay, the one who will grow with you, the one who will bring stability and value to your work. You will find them when your number comes up, and your number comes up only if you stay in the game. That's how success works, not through luck or shortcuts, but through consistent, honest communication. The law of averages never fails. It's waiting for your next call, your next meeting, your next message. Keep talking until the right client stays. And when they do, you'll know every effort was worth it.
Number 3, make 10 offers to find the one that works. Every opportunity you want in life is waiting for an offer. Not a wish, not a plan, but a real, clear, confident offer. Yet most people only make one. They put their heart into that single shot, and when it doesn't work, they back away and call it failure. The truth is, you can't expect one offer to change everything. Success is built on repeated effort. You make 10 offers to find the one that finally works. That's how life rewards those who keep putting themselves on the line. The problem is, most people stop too soon. They send one proposal, have one conversation, try one idea, and when it doesn't go their way, they assume it wasn't meant to be. But the law of averages doesn't bend for emotion. It only responds to numbers. You have to give the process enough attempts to reveal its pattern. If you make 10 offers, one might click, and that single yes could change your entire direction. When you make more offers, you increase your learning speed. Each attempt teaches you something new. You begin to see what people respond to, what language connects, what needs go unspoken. The more you do, the clearer you get about how to improve. One offer doesn't show you much, but 10 offers give you real data. You can refine your approach, adjust your tone, change your timing, and test your limits. Growth lives inside repetition. It's not about begging or chasing. It's about presenting value again and again until it lands where it belongs. You're not trying to convince everyone. You're looking for alignment. You're searching for the person or place that matches your energy, your offer, and your vision. Out of 10 people, 9 might not see it, but that 10th one will, and that's the one that counts. This rule applies to everything: business, relationships, partnerships, opportunities. You have to make enough moves to find the one that opens the right door. You can't expect perfection in your first try. The person who wins is not the one who avoids rejection, but the one who outnumbers. The beauty of making multiple offers is that it builds emotional strength. You stop tying your worth to each response. When one doesn't work, you don't break down. You move forward. You learn to stay centered. You learn to focus on effort instead of outcome. That shift in mindset is where real growth begins. You start to care less about who rejects you and more about how fast you can get back into motion. Every offer you make puts your name out there. People begin to notice your consistency. Even those who said no once might come around later, because they see you didn't quit. You build credibility by being the person who stays active while others hesitate. The marketplace always rewards the person who keeps showing up. Sometimes your first few offers won't work because they're not ready yet, and neither are you. You're still finding your rhythm. You're learning how to express your message clearly. You're discovering what your audience values most. That's not failure. That's preparation. Those early attempts are shaping your skill and sharpening your instincts. By the time the right opportunity arrives, you'll be ready because you've already done the work. Making 10 offers isn't about desperation. It's about determination. It's about understanding
that success is a process of trial, learning, and persistence. The first few may fail, the next few may improve, but eventually one connects. When it does, it feels earned. That's what gives success meaning. You have to be willing to look foolish for a while. You'll make offers that fall flat. You'll hear silence. You'll get ignored. You'll second guess yourself. That's all part of the grind. But each time you act, you're building resilience. You're teaching yourself to stay strong in the face of indifference. And one day when that one offer lands, you'll know exactly why it worked, because you've lived through every version that didn't. Most people underestimate the power of persistence. They think talent alone will carry them, but talent without volume is wasted potential. The law of averages doesn't care how gifted you are. It rewards how many times you step forward. Even the most successful people you admire have a trail of failed offers behind their victories. They just made enough attempts to find what worked. Making 10 offers also changes how people see you. They recognize commitment. They sense reliability. They know you're serious. That's how you separate yourself from the ones who only talk. Anyone can dream, but few people act repeatedly in the direction of that dream. When you keep offering your ideas, your service, your time, you create momentum. And momentum attracts opportunities that weren't visible before. You'll start to see something interesting happen. As your confidence grows, your ratio improves. Where you once needed 10 offers to get one yes, you might later need only 5. Your skills evolve, your awareness expands, and your presence becomes stronger. But that progress begins only after you put in enough attempts to earn it. You might think 10 offers sound like a lot. It isn't. It's a small number compared to the rewards that follow. Imagine if you made 10 calls every day, 10 proposals every week, 10 conversations every month. The numbers would compound faster than you can imagine. The more you put out, the more the world gives back. It always does, just not always immediate. The challenge is staying consistent when you don't see quick results. The gap between effort and outcome can feel endless, but you have to trust that each offer is building something invisible. Awareness, connections, reputation, timing. It all adds up. The one that finally works might look effortless to others, but you'll know how much went into it. That's the truth behind every breakthrough. The right offer is out there waiting to connect with the right person, but you'll only find it if you keep making them. If you give up after the first few, you close the door too early. The law of averages can't reward hesitation. It only multiplies action. And remember, the goal isn't just to make more offers. It's to make better ones. Each try should be smarter than the last. Review what didn't work. Notice what people respond to. Pay attention to timing, tone, and context. Improvement is part of the equation. The more aware you become, the faster your numbers improve. This is how you build your own system of success. By turning effort into experience, and experience into result. You can't control who says yes, but you can control how often you show up. You can't predict which offer will work, but you can make enough to ensure one does. When you understand this, rejection loses its power. You stop fearing no, because you know yes is on its way. You stop overthinking and start acting. You start valuing persistence over perfection. And slowly, you build a rhythm that keeps you moving forward no matter what happens. The difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck isn't intelligence or background. It's repetition. The winners simply kept making offers until something clicked. They didn't treat rejection as a wall. They treated it as a step, and step by step, they reached the top. So make your 10 offers. Speak up, ask for the deal, present the idea, apply for the opportunity, send the message, share your work. Keep putting it out there. Don't count the rejections, count the attempts, because every new offer carries the potential to change everything. When that one offer finally lands, it won't be luck. It'll be the result of all the effort, courage, and consistency that came before it. You'll look back and realize that every try mattered. Every no taught you something, and every failed attempt led you right to the one that worked. That's how success happens. Not through magic, but through math and motion. The law of averages is always waiting for you to move. Keep making your offers until one connects. And when it does, you'll know it wasn't chance. It was earned through relentless action.
Number 4, keep showing up. Because averages reward the consistent. Consistency is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Most people don't fail because they're not talented enough. They fail because they stop showing up. They start strong. They get excited. But when the results don't appear fast enough, they fade away. The truth is simple and sometimes hard to swallow. Averages reward the consistent. The more often you show up, the more chances you give yourself to win. The law of averages works quietly in the background. It doesn't need your permission. It doesn't care how you feel today. It only responds to what you do repeatedly. Every time you show up, you feed the system that eventually pays you back. One day doesn't make a difference, but 100 days do. A few efforts don't build a reputation, but constant effort builds one so strong, it can't be ignored. You don't get results because you worked hard for a week. You get results because you refused to disappear when things got uncomfortable. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about showing up when it's boring, when it's quiet, when no one's watching. The people who win aren't the ones who move the fastest. They're the ones who stay the longest. There's something powerful that happens when you keep showing up. You create momentum. Momentum turns small steps into lasting change. Every action, every call, every attempt compounds into something bigger. You may not notice it today, but it's happening beneath the surface. One more day of effort might not seem like much, but one more day, every day changes everything. Think of how most people approach their goals. They work hard for a short burst, then disappear for weeks. They start and stop so often that their averages never rise. The law of averages doesn't favor the sprinter. It favors the one who keeps moving, even at a slow pace. The key isn't to do everything at once. It's to do something every day. The difference between failure and success isn't a giant leap. It's the daily decision to stay in motion. It's choosing to keep your promises to yourself when no one's there to remind you. When you're consistent, you start building trust with yourself. You prove that your word means something. And when you trust yourself, your confidence grows, and that confidence shows in every part of your life. Consistency is not glamorous. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. It's repetitive, and it's demanding. But it's also where success is born. The law of averages multiplies your results when you multiply your efforts. If you show up once a week, your chances remain small. If you show up daily, your chances multiply exponentially. That's how ordinary people achieve extraordinary outcomes. They simply keep showing up. Every successful person you've ever admired started with the same struggle. They had doubts. They faced rejection. They questioned whether their effort mattered. The only difference is they didn't stop. They understood that averages reward persistence. They knew that even if 9 out of 10 attempts failed, the 10th could change their life. They stayed long enough for the math to work in their favor. You might not see progress right away, and that's the hardest part. The early days of consistency are the most difficult because you're working without visible results. It's like planting seeds. You water, you nurture, but for a while there's nothing to see. Then one day, growth appears, and you realize every drop of effort was building something real. That's how success unfolds. Gradually, quietly, and then suddenly. The people who give up too soon never experience that moment. They stop right before the numbers start to shift. They forget that consistency has a delayed reward. The law of averages doesn't respond instantly. It needs time to gather evidence. Every time you show up, you add a piece to that evidence. Eventually, it becomes undeniable. Showing up consistently also trains your discipline. It rewires your mind to handle difficulty. When you build the habit of being present, your emotions stop controlling your actions. You stop making decisions based on mood and start making them based on commitment. That's when everything changes. You become dependable, not just to others, but to yourself. Success is not reserved for the gifted. It's reserved for the consistent. The gifted person who doesn't show up
gets beaten by the average person who does. The law of averages doesn't favor potential. It favors persistence. Every hour of effort builds another layer of strength. Over time, consistency becomes your advantage. When you keep showing up, you attract attention. People start noticing your reliability. They trust you more. Opportunities find you because consistency communicates seriousness. In a world full of people who quit too soon, being the one who stays gives you power. You become rare. You become credible. You become the person others count on. But the truth is, showing up isn't always fun. Some days you'll be tired. Some days you'll feel invisible. Some days you'll question if it's worth it. That's when you remind yourself, the averages only work for those who don't stop. Every effort counts. Every repetition matters. Every small action builds towards something you can't yet see. There's nothing more rewarding than looking back and realizing how far you've come simply because you stayed consistent. You'll see moments when you could have quit, but you didn't. You'll remember days when nothing seemed to move, but you kept going anyway. That's what separates you from the rest. Most people need motivation to start. Few have the discipline to continue. Consistency also builds character. It teaches patience. It humbles your ego. It reminds you that progress is earned, not owed. You stop expecting instant gratification and start respecting long-term effort. The law of averages becomes your silent ally, quietly turning your small actions into unstoppable momentum. When you make consistency your identity, success stops being an accident. You start waking up with purpose. You stop waiting for the perfect moment because you realize showing up is the perfect moment. Every time you follow through, you strengthen your mental muscles. You become tougher, clearer, and more grounded. People who quit early often wonder why nothing works for them. It's not that they're unlucky. It's that they reset their averages every time they stop. The law can't reward inconsistency. Each time you start over, you lose momentum, and the cycle repeats. But if you stay the course, the law begins to favor you. You become the one who reaps the rewards others gave up on. The beauty of consistency is that it doesn't demand brilliance. It demands effort. You don't need to know everything. You just need to keep showing up, learning, improving, and trying again. The results might take time, but they will come. The averages always balance in favor of the ones who persist. So keep showing up. When it's tough, show up. When it's quiet, show up. When no one believes in you, show up. When it feels like nothing's happening, show up anyway. Because something is happening. The law of averages is shifting. Every time you act, you move the numbers closer to your favor. At the end of the day, it's not talent or timing that decides your future. It's your ability to stay consistent when others stop. The world pays those who keep showing up, and the law of averages always keeps score. So stay the course, keep moving forward, and remember, averages reward the ones who refuse to disappear. Number 5, improve every attempt until your odds start turning higher. Every time you take action, you're given a chance to learn. Every effort, every attempt, every try leaves behind clues. Clues about what works and what doesn't. The law of averages says that the more you try, the better your odds become. But here's the deeper truth. Your odds rise faster when you learn and improve with every attempt. But here's the deeper truth. Your odds rise faster when you learn and improve with every attempt. Effort alone moves you forward, but improvement with effort multiplies your results. Most people repeat the same mistakes expecting different outcomes. They try again without reflection. They work hard, but not smart. And then they wonder why things don't change. The real power lies not just in trying more, but in trying better each time. If you review what you did, if you notice what could have been stronger, if you apply that lesson in the next round, your average starts to climb. The numbers don't lie. They follow growth. You can't control how fast success comes, but you can control how much better you become between each attempt. That's where the real leverage is. Improvement is what changes the math. When you start learning from every step, you no longer repeat the same errors. You waste less time. You hit closer to the mark. You start turning effort into mastery. Think of the difference between someone who practices mindlessly and someone who practices intentionally. The first one keeps moving but doesn't progress. The second one reflects, adjusts, and refines. Over time, their odds start separating. The one who improves becomes more accurate, more confident, and more effective. The same principle applies in business, in relationships, in skill building. In every human pursuit, you don't just need more tries, you need better ones. Every attempt is feedback. Every result tells a story. If something didn't work, don't label it as failure. Label it as information. Ask yourself, what did I miss? What can I do differently next time? What did I assume that wasn't true? Those questions are what turn experience into progress. Without reflection, even hard work becomes blind repetition. The law of averages rewards awareness. If you repeat the same approach over and over, without changing it, your odds remain stuck. But when you adapt, the numbers shift. You begin to notice small improvements. People respond differently. Outcomes improve. And your confidence grows. You start to see patterns that used to be invisible. That's when your averages begin working for you instead of against you. Improvement doesn't happen by accident. It happens through honesty. You have to be willing to admit what isn't working. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Most people protect their ego instead of protecting their progress. They defend their old habits instead of building new ones. But the person who looks at their mistakes without judgment gains power. They see reality as it is, not as they wish it to be. That's how they rise faster than others. There's nothing shameful about getting it wrong. What matters is whether you stay wrong or get better. The first attempt might be messy. The second may still miss the mark. But by the 5th or 10th, you start seeing precision. You've gathered enough knowledge from your own actions to make smarter choices. And when you combine consistency with reflection, your odds don't just add up, they multiply. Success loves the person who keeps evolving. You can't stay the same and expect your results to change. The world rewards those who pay attention, those who notice details others overlook, those who adjust faster than the competition. When you take what you learn from one try and use it in the next, you become sharper, faster, stronger. You become someone who doesn't just rely on luck. You create it. Improvement is a sign of responsibility. It means you take ownership of your actions. You're not blaming others. You're not blaming the system. You're focusing on what you can control. You can't control rejection, but you can control how prepared you are next time. You can't control someone's opinion, but you can control how clearly you communicate. Every improvement raises your chances. That's how the odds begin to turn. When you decide grow from each attempt, even failure becomes valuable. You start to appreciate the process. You stop chasing shortcuts and begin building depth. Each setback becomes an instructor. Each obstacle becomes a training ground. You stop running from mistakes because you understand they're shaping your future success. That's what separates learners from quitters. Improvement also builds self-respect. When you see yourself learning, adapting, and getting better, you start trusting your ability to figure things out. You no longer depend on motivation to keep going. You rely on self-belief. You develop quiet confidence, the kind that comes from experience, not talk. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your progress speaks for itself. Over time, small improvements accumulate. They change how people perceive you. They change how opportunities respond to you. The world starts treating you differently because you're no longer the same person who started. You've grown through action, through reflection, through persistence. You've earned better odds. It's easy to envy someone else's success, but what you don't see is how many attempts they improved behind the scenes. Every success story is built on thousands of small upgrades, better habits, smarter choices, sharper focus. Nobody masters their craft on the first try. They fail, they learn, they adapt. That's how the averages shift in their favor. If you keep repeating without improving, you'll exhaust yourself. But if you improve every time, you'll energize yourself. Each attempt gives you a reason to keep going. Because you can see progress. Even small progress fuels motivation. You start waking up with purpose. Because you know that every effort is bringing you closer. To raise your odds, you must be a student of your own actions. Review your performance honestly. Notice what triggers success and what causes setbacks. Write it down. Adjust it. Test it again. Improvement doesn't require perfection. It requires awareness. Once you see your patterns clearly, you can redesign them. That's how growth works. The law of averages is predictable, but improvement accelerates. Think about it. If your first 10 attempts produced one success, imagine what happens when you double your skill. Now maybe every 5 attempts bring a win. Eventually every third one does. That's the compounding effect of learning. You're not just adding chances, you're increasing the quality of every chance you take. You can't skip the hard part. The early stages will test your patience. You'll feel like progress is slow, like the odds are unfair, but they're not unfair. They're untrained. Once you keep improving, those same odds start tilting toward you. What once felt impossible becomes normal. What used to intimidate you becomes familiar. That's how mastery feels. Not dramatic, but earned. Your goal should never be to stay the same person who started. Every attempt should refine your understanding, your discipline, and your results. You're not in competition with others. You're in competition with your last effort. Did you learn? Did you adjust? Did you handle it better than before? That's how you measure growth. You'll know your odds are turning higher when things that once took great effort start coming easier, when people start responding differently, when your confidence feels grounded, not forced, when you begin to see opportunities that others miss because you've trained your eyes to notice them. That's when the law of averages bows in your direction. So improve every attempt. Don't settle for doing more. Do better. Learn from each conversation, each plan, each setback. Take notes, reflect, rebuild, adjust your aim after every miss. Keep fine-tuning your craft until your results match your effort. The law of averages rewards persistence, but it celebrates evolution. If you keep improving, you'll reach a point where your odds no longer intimidate you. You'll know they're shifting because you've earned it. Every try, every adjustment, every insight brings you closer to excellence. The person who improves never stays unlucky for long. The law will always catch up to them. And when it does, their success looks inevitable, because it is.
Number 6, track your results to see effort turning into wins. You can't manage what you don't measure. You can work hard, stay busy, and put in effort every single day. But if you never stop to track what's really happening, you'll never know whether you're moving forward or just moving in circles. The law of averages works best when you can actually see it at work. Tracking your results turns effort into clarity. It shows you how far you've come, where you're improving, and where you're still wasting time. Success doesn't belong to those who guess. It belongs to those who measure. Every result you produce, big or small, is information. When you track it, you begin to see patterns that you could never notice through memory alone. You start connecting effort with outcome. You see what actions lead to progress and which ones drain your energy. You notice the times of day you perform best, the methods that get the strongest responses, and the habits that slow you down. This isn't just about productivity, it's about awareness. Without it, you're flying blind. Many people confuse activity with progress. They tell themselves, "I'm working hard," but can't prove it. Hard work matters, but what matters even more is effective work. When you track your results, you discover the difference. You might realize that 10 hours of scattered effort accomplishes less than 2 hours of focused action. You might learn that one consistent approach brings more returns than 5 half-hearted ones. That kind of insight only comes from tracking. There's a sense of empowerment that comes when you see real numbers. When you record your calls, your sales, your messages, your workouts, your savings, whatever your area of effort is, you stop relying on emotion to measure progress. Emotions can deceive you. Some days you'll feel like you're failing, but your numbers will show you're improving. Other days you'll feel great, but your numbers will reveal you've stalled. The truth sits in the data. Tracking also builds accountability. When you write things down, you can't hide from the truth. You can't pretend you're doing more than you are. The numbers don't care about excuses. They simply reflect your consistency. That's powerful because accountability creates growth. The moment you see where you stand, you can start changing it. You can raise your standards, set real goals, and watch them unfold in measurable form. Every successful person keeps score in some way. They don't guess at progress, they track it. They know how many calls they made this week, how many people they reached, how many deals closed, how much revenue grew. They look at those numbers not to brag, but to improve.
Because when you measure effort, you can increase it. When you measure progress, you can accelerate it. Tracking results is not about obsession. It's about clarity. It keeps you honest with yourself. It helps you see that every small step counts. Imagine seeing your effort on paper or on a screen and realizing that what once felt like failure was actually steady progress. That changes your mindset. You start trusting the process because you can see it work. When you begin to track your efforts, something interesting happens. You naturally start improving. You can't look at your results every day without wanting to make them better. Tracking invites discipline. It pushes you to do a little more today than you did yesterday. It helps you compete with yourself, not with others. Over time, that self-competition creates mastery. The law of averages rewards those who stay in motion, but tracking makes that motion intentional. It takes blind effort and turns it into strategy. You start recognizing patterns, what time of day you perform best, which approach brings stronger results, which habits waste energy. That insight allows you to refine your effort. And once you refine effort, results rise faster. Without measurement, time slips away unnoticed. You might think you've been consistent for months, only to realize you've missed half the days. You might assume a certain strategy works, but your data might say otherwise. That's the difference between assumption and awareness. Tracking brings you back to reality, and reality is where growth happens. If you're trying to build anything, income, skill, health, or discipline, you need a scoreboard. You need a place to record your progress, even if it's small. Write down what you did, how often you did it, and what happened as a result. Review it weekly. Celebrate what's working. Adjust what's not. That single habit separates the hopeful from the successful. You'll also discover that tracking reduces stress. When you rely on guesswork, you live in uncertainty. You're always wondering, am I doing enough? But when you track, you know. You can look at your numbers and say, I made progress. That certainty gives you confidence. It removes doubt because you have evidence. And when confidence rises, so does consistency. Sometimes people avoid tracking because they don't want to face the truth. They fear seeing low numbers, so they avoid them altogether. But avoiding reality never improves it. The truth, even if uncomfortable, gives you control. Once you know where you are, you can make decisions that lead somewhere better. Ignoring your numbers only keeps you stuck. Tracking also brings momentum. When you start seeing results stack up, even small ones, you gain energy. You begin to crave progress. You realize that effort isn't wasted. It compounds. Each day adds another line to your record, another brick in your foundation. Over time, that visual proof becomes motivation you can see and touch. Think about how professionals operate. Athletes track every move. Business owners track every sale. Trainers track every set. They don't rely on feeling. They rely on feedback. That's how they grow faster than everyone else. If you want to win in your field, you must do the same. Keep a record. Review it often. Let it guide your adjustment. Tracking your results also helps you recognize milestones you would otherwise overlook. Success doesn't arrive overnight. It builds slowly, and you'll miss it if you don't measure it. When you record progress, you can look back and say, I've come further than I thought. That reflection keeps you grounded and grateful. Gratitude strengthens persistence, and persistence keeps the averages moving in your favor. Over time, you'll notice a powerful shift. What used to feel like a struggle becomes a system. You stop guessing what to do next because your data tells you. You stop doubting yourself because your results prove you're improving. You become strategic, focused, and deliberate. You stop being a participant in your life and become its manager. Tracking is not about perfection. It's not about hitting every goal on time. It's about knowing where your energy is going and how to direct it better. It's about recognizing that success leaves evidence, and that evidence shows up in your record. When you make this a daily habit, your confidence grows because you're no longer working in the dark. The most rewarding moment comes when you look back and realize that the numbers don't just show effort. They show transformation. You see days you wanted to quit but didn't. You see patterns of growth, proof that you've been moving forward all along. That's when you understand the real meaning of tracking. It's not about numbers. It's about proof that your effort mattered. Track your results to see effort turning into wins. Write them down. Measure them honestly. Review them regularly. Adjust your actions based on what you learn. The law of averages will always favor those who are aware of their progress. Don't leave your success to chance. Record it, refine it, and watch the evidence of your hard work turn into victory.
Number 7. Raise your daily actions to raise your success ratio. Every person wants a higher level of success, but few are willing to raise the level of their daily actions. Everyone dreams of achieving more, but most keep doing the same amount as yesterday and expect a different outcome. The truth is simple and direct. Your results will never rise until your actions do. If you want a better ratio of success to failure, you must increase the number of meaningful actions you take each day. Effort multiplies opportunity, and opportunity multiplies results. Your success ratio is not built on luck or timing. It's built on numbers. The more consistent actions you take, the greater your chance that some of them turn into wins. The people you see succeeding aren't necessarily smarter or more talented. They just do more. They make more calls, write more messages, show up to more meetings, test more ideas, and stay active longer. Each small action adds to the total. Over time, those totals turn into momentum, and momentum turns into results. The biggest mistake people make is expecting more without doing more. They want growth, but resist the discomfort that comes with extra effort. They hope to skip the repetition, the long hours, and the trial and error. But averages don't reward comfort. They reward volume and persistence. If you take one action per day, your ratio will stay small. If you take 10, your ratio has 10 times the chance to rise. Every extra move you make gives the law of averages more to work with. Raising your daily actions doesn't mean doing random work. It means doing more of what actually matters. It's about increasing the number of deliberate efforts toward your goals. If you're in business, it might mean reaching out to more clients, following up more often, or refining your message. If you're building skills, it might mean practicing longer or studying deeper. The goal isn't to stay busy. The goal is to raise your productive actions. Each day is a scoreboard. You either fill it with steps that move you forward or excuses that hold you back. When you raise your daily actions, you start winning small battles every day. Those small wins add up fast. You don't need massive change in a single day. You need steady improvement across many days. That's how averages shift. Not overnight, but through accumulated effort. The key to raising your actions is awareness. You have to know how much you're really doing. Most people overestimate their effort. They think they're giving their all. But when you measure it honestly, there's room for more. When you start counting your daily actions, you'll see how many opportunities you've been leaving on the table. Once you become aware of that, you can decide to change it. Raising your actions also builds confidence. When you move more, you stop thinking too much. Overthinking kills progress. Action builds momentum. Every time you act, you gain clarity about what works and what doesn't. That feedback makes you smarter, stronger, and faster. Confidence doesn't come from planning. It comes from participation. The more you do, the more you trust yourself to handle whatever comes next. One of the most powerful shifts in mindset happens when you stop asking, "What if it doesn't work?" and start asking, "What if I try 10 times and one works?" That single change transforms how you approach your goals. You stop chasing perfection and start playing the number. You realize success isn't a mystery, it's math. If you want higher returns, raise the number of attempts. Every person who's ever achieved something significant has faced rejection, silence, and setbacks. The difference is, they didn't stop after 1 or 2 attempts. They outworked their averages. They understood that behind every success are hundreds of unseen actions that nobody talks about. Raising your daily actions means you stop living by chance and start living by design. When you increase your actions, you also increase your learning speed. Each new effort gives you data. You learn how to improve, how to adjust, how to communicate better. You get sharper with repetition. That's how skill is built.
not through theory, but through repetition. And as your skill rises, your success ratio naturally follows. There's a moment that comes after consistent action when everything starts to connect. You notice that opportunities come more easily. People start responding differently. Your results accelerate. That moment doesn't happen because of luck. It happens because you finally reached the point where your efforts crossed a threshold. You did enough actions for the averages to turn in your favor. But you can't reach that point if you stop too early. Too many people quit before their numbers mature. They underestimate how long consistency takes to compound. The law of averages doesn't fail. It just needs time and volume. Each action you take adds weight to your side of the scale. Eventually, the scale tips, and success starts showing up more often. Raising your actions also trains your discipline. It pushes you beyond comfort. It teaches you to work when you don't feel inspired. It helps you control your habits instead of letting your habits control you. That discipline becomes a quiet power. The ability to keep doing the right thing, even when it's inconvenient. And once you master that, your success ratio will rise automatically. You'll also discover that raising your actions raises your standard. When you start doing more, you stop settling for average effort. You expect more from yourself. You start noticing wasted time and cutting it out. You focus sharper. You respect your time because you know every hour counts. That's how real professionals think. Every action matters because every action shapes the outcome. People often ask how to stay motivated while increasing their efforts. The answer is simple. Don't chase motivation. Chase progress. When you see your actions increasing and your results improving, motivation becomes natural. You don't need pep talks. You have proof. That proof fuels the next day's effort. There's a simple formula that never fails. More qualified effort equals more qualified success. If your goal is to improve your ratio of wins to losses, give yourself more chances to win. Don't wait for perfect timing or ideal conditions. Start multiplying your actions today. Each new attempt raises the probability that tomorrow will look better than yesterday. The truth is, you'll never know how good you can become until you push past your current limits. You'll never see how high your success ratio can go until you take more daily swings. You'll never realize your potential until you demand more from yourself than you did yesterday. Raising your daily actions isn't about pressure. It's about potential. It's about discovering how much more you're capable of when you commit fully. When you begin to raise your daily actions, life starts responding differently. People take you more seriously. Opportunities appear more often. Progress accelerates. You become someone who creates momentum instead of waiting for it. You feel more in control because you're no longer leaving your results to chance. So decide to raise your daily actions. Do one more call. Send one more message. Learn one more skill. Push a little harder. Go a little longer. Stay a little later. Those extra steps might not show results immediately, but they build up. They accumulate silently until one day, they break through all at once. That's how you raise your success ratio. One more action at a time. Your life will change the moment you realize that the results you're getting are simply reflecting the amount of effort you're giving. The averages are neutral. They don't favor anyone. They only respond to input. The more you give, the more they give back. Raise your daily actions, and you'll raise everything that comes after them. Your skills, your results, your opportunities, and your future.
Number 8, stay long enough in the game to beat statistics. Most people lose not because they can't win, but because they don't stay in the game long enough for the odds to turn their way. The law of averages rewards endurance. It doesn't favor the fastest or the most talented. It favors the one who refuses to walk away when things get tough. Every attempt, every effort, every season of struggle adds weight to your side of the scale. If you stay long enough, those weights begin to tip. Success starts leaning toward you simply because you're still standing. When you look around, you'll notice something about the people who seem to have made it. Most of them didn't start with more talent or better resources. They just stayed longer. They kept playing when others folded, pushed through. When it felt like nothing was working, they gave themselves time to learn, adjust, and outlast the averages. And over time, The very same odds that once looked impossible started working in their favor. The early part of any journey feels unfair. You give your best, and nothing seems to move. You put in effort and the results are quiet. It's at that point most people quit. They convince themselves that maybe it's not meant for them. But the truth is, it was never about being meant for you. It was about whether you'd stay long enough for the law of averages to finally catch up. Every process has a delay between action and outcome. You can't plant today and harvest tomorrow. You can't start a new skill and master it next week. You can't build trust or a reputation overnight. There's a gap between effort and reward, and that gap tests everyone. The people who win are the ones who bridge that gap with patience, faith, and continuous action. Staying long enough doesn't mean you just wait passively. It means you keep improving while time passes. You keep learning, refining, adapting. You keep taking small steps forward, even when nobody notices. You stay engaged while others get distracted. The law of averages can't reward you if you step out of the game. But if you remain active, even through discouragement, the numbers start tilting. The problem with most people is not failure, it's early exit. They don't give their actions enough time to mature. They want fast wins and instant feedback. And when life doesn't deliver quickly, they switch paths, start over, or stop completely. What they don't realize is that the law was about to turn in their favor. The next week, the next month, the next try could have been the breakthrough. Think about how many people give up right before things start working. They spend months building, learning, adjusting, and just when the results are about to show, they disappear. That's like running 19 miles of a marathon and quitting before the finish line. The pain you've already endured deserves a payoff, but you only get that reward if you stay in the race. When you stay long enough, something powerful happens inside you. You develop emotional strength. You stop fearing short-term losses. You start viewing setbacks differently, not as endings, but as part of the process. You understand that every loss teaches you how to win smarter. Every rejection builds your endurance. Every slow day tests your belief. And that belief, over time, becomes your greatest advantage. The law of averages works best for those who keep showing up after everyone else stops. That's when the field clears. That's when opportunities open up. Most people can't handle the weight, the frustration, the uncertainty. But those who can, those who stay in motion, keep adjusting, and keep their focus, end up ahead simply because there's less competition left. Time is the ultimate filter. It separates the curious from the committed. The curious try for a while. The committed stay until they figure it out. You have to decide which one you are. If you're serious about your goals, then time becomes your ally, not your enemy. You understand that every additional week, every additional month, every additional year in the game increases your probability of success. Patience is not weakness. It's strategy. It's understanding how progress really works. Nothing worthwhile grows on a fast schedule. Skills take time to sharpen. Businesses take time to build. Relationships take time to strengthen. You can't rush the law of averages, but you can stay long enough to see it deliver. When you stay committed, the odds begin to bend toward you. The first few failures that once discouraged you become experiences that guide you. The mistakes that once embarrassed you turn into lessons that protect you. The effort that once felt wasted becomes the foundation for your confidence. Everything that used to hurt you starts to serve you, because you stayed long enough for the transformation to happen. Success often shows up when you've already accepted that it might not. It arrives quietly, after years of repetition, practice, and persistence. It doesn't announce itself. It just appears one day as a result of your consistency. The person who kept showing up becomes the one everyone calls lucky. But luck has nothing to do with it. They just stayed longer. They gave the law of averages time to do its work. There's a kind of calm that comes when you understand this. You stop rushing. You stop panicking when progress is slow. You trust the process because you know the numbers are always working in the background. Every action, every repetition, every day in the game is building something real, even if you can't see it yet. You also begin to appreciate effort more deeply. You realize that the reward isn't only in the win, it's in the endurance itself. Every day you stay when others quit.
You strengthen your character. Every time you choose persistence over impatience, you become more reliable, more grounded, more capable. The longer you stay, the better you get. The people who quit early never discover how capable they really are. They never see their full strength because they leave before it's tested. But when you stay, you grow into a version of yourself that can handle success without breaking. That's why endurance matters. Not just for the outcome, but for the person you become along the way. To beat the statistics, you have to stop thinking short term. Most statistics reflect the habits of those who gave up. The world is full of people who started and stopped, who tried once and quit. You can't base your expectations on them. You're not here to be average. You're here to outlast average. The odds don't stand a chance against time and consistency. There will be moments when you feel like you're not progressing at all. You'll question whether staying in the game is worth it. That's the voice that stops most people. But if you push through that moment, you'll notice something subtle. You become more resilient. Your mind hardens. Your patience deepens. And your focus sharpens. And when that happens, the statistics start losing their power over you. The truth is, the numbers will always favor the ones who stay longer. You don't have to be the most gifted, the most connected, or the most intelligent. You just have to outlast the quitters. The law of averages cannot ignore you if you stay active long enough. Every setback becomes a stepping stone. Every rejection becomes redirection. And every failed attempt becomes part of your winning formula. So stay in the game. When it's boring, when it's slow, stay. When it's painful, stay. When no one believes you'll make it, stay anyway. Because the longer you stay, the more power you gain. The law of averages bends toward persistence, and persistence always finds a way to win. The statistics only defeat those who surrender early. Stay long enough, and you'll watch those same statistics crumble in front of your consistency.
Number 9. Multiply your tries until failure becomes your best teacher. Most people fear failure because they see it as the end. They take one shot, miss, and think that means they're not good enough. But the truth is, failure is not a wall. It's a mirror. It shows you where you stand, what you missed, and what needs to change. The real winners aren't those who avoid failure. They're the ones who multiply their tries until failure becomes their best teacher. Every setback, every rejection, every wrong turn is a classroom for growth. If you're willing to stay enrolled, you can't learn what success truly requires if you're only willing to try once. One attempt gives you a glimpse. 10 attempts give you perspective. 100 attempts give you wisdom. Each try reveals another piece of the puzzle. Each mistake sharpens your awareness. You start to see patterns you couldn't see before. You stop guessing and start understanding. That's what happens when you multiply your efforts. Your failures begin teaching you lessons you couldn't buy anywhere else. When you take only a few chances, failure feels personal. It feels final. But when you take many, it becomes normal, expected, even valuable. You stop fearing it because you know it's part of progress. The more you try, the more you desensitize yourself to rejection. It stops hurting and starts helping. It becomes information, not humiliation. That shift in mindset is what separates those who grow from those who give up. Every time you fail, the world gives you feedback. You learn something about your strategy, your timing, your preparation, your attitude. You learn what doesn't work. And if you're paying attention, you start finding what does. But that only happens through volume, through repetition, through multiple tries, through persistence that refuses to die. The law of averages has always been simple. The more you do, the more you get. But there's another side to it. The more you fail, the more you learn. And the more you learn, the fewer mistakes you repeat. That's how your success ratio improves. You can't perfect your craft by thinking about it. You perfect it by doing it over and over until the lessons sink into your bones. Failure is not an enemy. It's an unpaid mentor. It won't flatter you, but it will teach you. It doesn't lie. It shows you exactly what needs fixing. You don't have to like it, but you have to respect it. Because without failure, you can't grow stronger. Without mistakes, you can't build resilience. Without losses, you can't truly appreciate the wins when they come. When you multiply your tries,
You stop putting pressure on any single attempt. You give yourself room to experiment, to play, to explore. You become bolder. You start asking better questions. You test new ideas. And suddenly failure turns into data, not disappointment. You're no longer attached to outcomes. You're focused on evolution. That's when growth becomes unstoppable. You'll notice something powerful when you keep trying. Your emotional endurance expands. What used to discourage you no longer does. What once felt unbearable becomes part of the process. You develop mental toughness that can't be faked. People around you start to quit. But you keep going because you've learned how to absorb loss without losing momentum. That's the real lesson of failure. How to keep your drive alive when things fall apart. Multiplying your tries also gives you variety. You begin to explore different angles, different approaches, different methods. You stop relying on one way and start finding better ones. You experiment until you discover what fits. That flexibility is what makes you stronger than your competition. While they wait for perfect conditions, you're out there learning through experience. There's a strange irony in this. The more you fail, the closer you get to success. It's not poetic, it's mathematical. Every failure removes one more wrong option from your path. You're narrowing the field, getting closer to what works. If you multiply your tries 100 times, you give yourself 100 lessons. Each one brings you closer to mastery. The people who give up early never reach that level of clarity because they never give failure the chance to teach them. Failure doesn't punish you, it prepares you. It teaches patience. It humbles ego. It exposes weakness and forces you to build strength. It reminds you that good things require time, consistency, and courage. When you multiply your tries, you multiply those lessons. And over time, you start to see how every setback was preparing you for the next opportunity. You begin to look back and realize that the mistakes you once hated became the foundation of your confidence. They built your judgment, your adaptability, your grit. They shaped your mindset into one that no longer crumbles under pressure. You stopped asking why and started asking what's next. That's the thinking of someone who's no longer afraid of failure, someone who's learned to use it. Failure becomes your teacher the moment you stop running from it. It becomes your partner when you face it with curiosity instead of fear. Every no becomes a map pointing to a better yes. Every disappointment becomes a lesson in resilience. Every error becomes a tool for improvement. The more times you face it, the more it refines you. You can't fake that kind of growth. It only comes through trial and error. Most people want success without the process. They want to skip the pain, the frustration, the repetition. But skipping failure means skipping growth. Success without struggle doesn't last because it hasn't been tested. Failure tests your foundation. It exposes whether you truly believe in what you're chasing. When you multiply your tries, you prove your belief through action. You show the world and yourself that you're serious. Every try you take increases your understanding of how life works. You start noticing patterns that others overlook. You begin to predict outcomes, not through luck, but through awareness. That's what wisdom really is. Lessons learned from experience, not from books or theories. Failure gives you that wisdom if you collect enough of it. You'll also discover something else. The fear of failure fades when you face it enough times. The unknown becomes familiar. The sting becomes manageable. You realize it's not the end. It's just a checkpoint. And when fear disappears, creativity rises. You start thinking freely because you're no longer trapped by the need to always be right. That's when breakthroughs happen. So keep multiplying your tries. Make more calls. Send more proposals. Try new strategies. Take more swings. The numbers will take care of you if you stay in motion. Every extra attempt increases your experience, your knowledge, and your chances. You don't have to get it right every time. You just have to stay in the game long enough for failure to finish its teaching. Eventually, failure will stop feeling like a threat. It will feel like an old friend, the one who pushes you harder, tells you the truth, and refuses to let you stay the same. You'll look back and realize that every setback was not a loss, but a lesson. Every stumble was not wasted. It was shaping you into someone who can win repeatedly, not accidentally. When failure becomes your teacher, You stop losing sleep over mistakes. You stop doubting your worth after a bad day. You know every misstep is moving you forward in ways you can't yet see. You stop chasing easy wins and start chasing meaningful progress. That's when success finds you, because you've earned it through experience. Multiply your tries until failure teaches you everything you need to know. Keep adding effort. Keep learning. Keep adjusting. Don't count your losses. Count your lessons. The more you fail, the more skilled, wise, and unshakable you become. And when that happens, the law of averages bends in your favor, because the person who has learned from 100 failures can't lose for long.
Number 10. Do more repetitions until success has nowhere else to go. Repetition is the foundation of mastery. Every skill, every success, every achievement that stands the test of time was built on the back of repetition. Not once, not twice, but hundreds and thousands of times, until there was no room left for failure to hide. The law of averages rewards repetition. The more you do something, the more the odds start bending toward you. Every repetition is a vote for your future success. Every consistent action forces success to pay attention. Do enough repetitions, and success will eventually have nowhere else to go. It will have no choice but to land on you. Most people underestimate the power of repetition. They get bored quickly. They crave variety more than progress. They do something a few times, don't see immediate results, and move on to something else. But repetition is what separates amateurs from experts. It's not about excitement. It's about precision. Each time you repeat a task, you're teaching your mind and body how to perform it better, faster, and stronger. You're reducing mistakes, increasing control, and turning effort into instinct. That's how you cross the line from trying to knowing. The first few repetitions are the hardest. You struggle, you doubt, you question whether it's working. But if you stay with it, something shifts. The process becomes smoother. Your confidence grows. What once felt difficult becomes natural. That's the hidden power of repetition. It makes hard things easy through time and discipline. Success doesn't show up for those who dabble. It shows up for those who repeat until excellence becomes automatic. When you do something often enough, it becomes part of your identity. You stop needing motivation to act. You don't rely on inspiration. You rely on habit. You don't ask whether you should do it. You just do it, because it's who you are now. That's how real transformation happens. Repetition rewires your brain. It shapes your behavior until consistency becomes your new normal. Repetition also builds trust. People begin to believe in you because you keep showing up. They see your consistency and know you're serious. Opportunities start finding you because repetition has created a reputation. You become reliable, and reliability is magnetic. In a world full of inconsistency, the one who repeats with discipline stands out every time. The beauty of repetition is that it's fair. It doesn't discriminate. It rewards anyone willing to keep going long enough. You don't need to be the smartest, fastest, or most talented. You just need to keep putting in the reps. Every time you practice, you're investing in your future performance. You're stacking small wins that compound over time. Eventually, your accumulated effort becomes too heavy to ignore. If you look closely at people who seem effortlessly successful, you'll find years of repetition behind their overnight achievements. The speaker who moves crowds practiced their message 1,000 times. The athlete who performs with grace has done the same moves since childhood. The entrepreneur with a thriving business has repeated failures, pitches, and ideas countless times. Repetition is the invisible bridge between average and extraordinary. Doing more repetitions doesn't just improve skill. It changes the relationship you have with discomfort. At first, repetition feels tiring. You'll get restless. You'll feel the urge to quit. But if you stay in it long enough, repetition starts building emotional stability. You stop expecting instant gratification. You learn to love the grind. You begin to see repetition as your ally instead of your burden. That's when the process becomes enjoyable. When you start appreciating progress instead of chasing perfection. Repetition also develops accuracy. Every time you repeat, you eliminate small errors. You refine your timing. You polish your delivery. You notice subtleties others miss. That precision compounds with time. You can't achieve that by doing something once in a while. You earn it by doing it until the details become part of your nature. The real pros aren't lucky.
They've simply repeated the basics until they became art. The more repetitions you complete, the smaller failure becomes. It loses its sting because you've seen it too many times. You start recognizing failure as part of the rhythm, not the end of the song. You no longer panic when something doesn't go right because you know another repetition is coming. That perspective alone gives you strength. Repetition removes fear by making effort familiar. Consistency of repetition also creates compounding result. One day of work adds up to little, but 1,000 days of work reshapes your reality. Every repetition stacks on the previous one, building depth, strength, and credibility. The law of averages turns in your favor because your total actions far outweigh your early struggle. Eventually, the scale tips, and success becomes inevitable. It's easy to overlook the power of simple daily effort. You might think one more practice doesn't matter. One more call won't change anything. One more attempt won't make a difference. But the truth is, every repetition adds pressure to the system. Success can only resist you for so long before it gives in. If you do enough, you force progress. You corner the odds. You eliminate uncertainty through sheer persistence. The key is to approach repetition with focus, not mindless effort. Repetition without attention breeds fatigue. Repetition with awareness builds mastery. You must learn to analyze each attempt. What went right? What could improve? How to make it smoother next time. That's how repetition turns from routine into evolution. You're not just repeating, you're refining. When you commit to doing more repetitions, something inside you changes. You stop being a spectator in your life and become an architect. You stop hoping things will improve and start building improvement through daily effort. Each repetition is a brick in the structure of your future. Some days it will feel slow. Some days it will feel endless. But over time, you'll look back and see how much ground you've covered. Not through bursts of energy, but through continuous repetition. Repetition also builds credibility with yourself. Every time you follow through, you strengthen your self-belief. You begin to trust your own consistency. You start keeping promises to yourself. That inner trust becomes the foundation for bigger goals. You know you can count on yourself because you've proven it through repeated action. There's a moment in every journey when repetition starts producing exponential results. What used to take hours now takes minutes. What once drained you now energizes you. You enter a state of flow where everything feels aligned. That's not magic. That's mastery born out of repetition. You've done the work so many times that your mind and body operate in harmony. That's when success stops being unpredictable and starts being predictable. The people who quit early never experience this stage. They stop when it's still hard, before repetition has time to work its magic. They never stay long enough to feel the ease that comes after struggle. But those who persist, those who do more repetitions even when it's dull or difficult, eventually reach the point where success becomes unavoidable. They've built too much momentum for failure to keep up. Doing more repetitions isn't glamorous. It's not loud. It's quiet, patient, and steady. It happens behind the scenes when no one's watching. But it's that very consistency that forces success to show up. You can't outthink repetition. You can only outwork it. The more you do, the closer success comes. So do more repetitions. Practice more than you promise. Stay with the process longer than you feel like. Push through the boredom. Push through the doubt. Keep refining, improving, repeating. The law of averages cannot ignore that kind of effort. Success will eventually run out of places to hide. It will have no choice but to land on the person who stayed disciplined, who kept repeating, who made mastery inevitable through action. That's how you win. Not by luck, not by shortcuts, but by doing enough repetitions until success simply has nowhere else to go. So here's the truth. The law of averages is always watching you. It's counting your actions, your efforts, your consistency. Every time you show up, it records it. Every time you try again, it moves a little closer to your side. The only people it ever forgets are the ones who stop trying. Success isn't a mystery. It's math with patience. You keep doing the right things long enough, and the results have no choice but to show up. That's how life works. That's how success works. So as you leave this video, make yourself a promise. Don't count the days, count the try. Because every call, every move, Every step is shifting your odds in your favor. If this message woke something up in you, come back tomorrow. We're going to go even deeper into how to use the law of averages to win in business, life, and mindset. This is just the start.